we should start now that we have everything in order.
Yeah, jeez.
I'm just going to start with the really weird opening of like, hey, it's nice that we've had this conversation. It's good to get to know you. Let me stop and do this, welcome to Getting... Wait, what the hell do I call it? Getting Quipy. Welcome to Getting Quipy, an interview show with members of the D&D community, from artists to world builders. If you have something you'd like to see on the show, send us an email at quipsandcrits@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter. Till then, enjoy the show. Welcome to Getting Quipy, the interview show where I talk with creatives throughout the D&D community and how they're going to be making your game better. I'm sitting with Chris and Nicole of Tabletop Foundations.
Hi.
Hello.
And Tabletop Foundations, what do you do?
Well, we make accessories and I guess game mat also. Is that what you would call it?
I mean, they're tiles. They're not a mat, but we make tiles and accessories for D&D, like carry trays and trees, and we have plans for other stuff in the future.
Yeah, immediate future.
Immediate future.
As I understand it, the difference between table tiles and table mats is that table mats could be cardboard. They're just difficult to use.
A table mat has never really been difficult for me to use. It's always just, it's like essentially a piece of paper, right?
Paper or vinyl. I can definitely see the times when we've unrolled it and you have to flip it upside down because it's not rolling completely flat. And they're easy difficult. You just put them on the table, but they don't always cooperate.
Well,
one of the things that I really like about our tiles is that they're flat, and you can draw on them, and drawing on them creates depth. But the difference between like a mat and our tiles is that it really is the third dimension. You can go high, you can do elevation, you can do that kind of thing with a mat system, or with a tile system, not with a mat.
I was actually doing my research, and I was hanging out on your shop, and I was looking at the Leviathan set that you have.
Yeah.
Diorama of a massive battlefield.
I really like the Kraken one. The pictures that we did, they're essentially the same number of tiles. It's the same square feet. And the Kraken pictures, if anybody wants to go check those out, it's this cathedral that we built, and it's got 3 freaking stories on it. And it's just, it didn't even take that long to build. Like, it was real deliberate and stuff like that. So we made it all pretty. But even though it's something that big, it only took us like 30, 45 minutes to build. It's just, I really like how it turned out.
And 30 minutes of prep time before like a big battle in a game, that can honestly make a difference in how that session for the day is going to be viewed.
Yeah.
With the stackable tiles, you can be like, does it look like your mini can see it? Then no.
Yeah, you start breaking out your like ruler or your pencil, and it's just like, do I have line of sight here? And it's different because you sometimes do that with a mat, where you're just like, okay, from point A to point B, you're just lining it up. But when elevation gets in there, you're like, well, you can see him, but you can only see his top half, so half cover. Like, things like that come up because it just changes the game a little bit.
So I was on your website, and apparently you started this because you had friends with mats and you felt there was an inconvenience of them. Was this something that was started by you playing the game and thinking, I can innovate on this with the skill set I have?
Absolutely. We were playing a game, and there was this giant battle where we had to run to this unicorn, and we're running through all these bushes and trees, but every tree was a drawn circle on flat, and it was just this big open area. And so the more intense fighter of our party just blitzed through everything and ran straight forward and didn't notice any of the cover or the monsters or anything. And at the end, our DM was like, one day I'm going to get terrain so I can build this up and I can make this more visible and easily visualized by you guys. And I was like, well, I have a laser. And so the next week I showed up with this little prototype, and just it went from there.
The big sell of this is that these are laser cut tiles.
They are, yes.
So you just own a laser cutter?
So there's sort of been a surge lately, and by lately I mean in the last 5-10 years, of just at-home lasers. And so I had an opportunity to kickstart one of them, and so it's weird saying we just happened to have a laser, but we did. And it's changed how I look at things. I see things like this mat, and I realize I can make these tiles out of, wood or whatever. And then you just do it. So yeah, I do just have an at-home laser. It's what we're using for pretty much everything we make, more or less. And it's been invaluable as a device to have.
Just out of my curiosity, and this doesn't have to go in, but what else do you use the laser for? Can you cut bread and make instant toast?
I mean, not even tons of stuff.
Well, you can't.
She is definitely a maker.
Hi.
And I am not so much. Even like last month, even when we were in the fit of this, the laser has a lot of problems.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's just laser precision. Like, people will generally think that the laser is very precise and that it does do things the same every time. That is true, but only to an extent, because the materials that you cut, even if they're the same, like even if it's our stuff is made out of MDF, and even if it's the same thing, just like 5 centimeters to the right, it'll be a completely different type of MDF, which causes the laser to react very slightly differently, but differently, giving you a different cut. And it's just, I see those details and I'm like, this thing is crazy.
And that's medium density fiberboard.
Yeah.
Why choose medium density fiberboard? Did you just see that and like, oh, that is just going to line up perfectly with how we can make this? Or do you have like a background with it? Is it like what you made the Batmobile out of?
No, actually what happened was, to make the prototype, I wanted to use plywood, but I realized I don't know what's in the glue in the plywood at the store. And lasers, you have to be careful about what materials you're cutting, or they can off-gas chlorine, and then nobody's cutting anymore. So I decided to skip the plywood, but I still wanted a material that was the right thickness and was even, and I realized that I could use MDF for that. Because for the most part, despite minuscule changes that you need calipers to find, like MDF is a pretty flat, pretty even material.
And I was talking about the super minuscule caliper
he
needed.
was,
yeah.
So do the two of you have a background in this kind of thing? You just bought a laser on a whim and found a way to make some really amazing tiles with them?
Well, I have a degree in sculpture and metalsmithing, so it's a little up my alley to have maker tools around, and I enjoy creating things. I've also done illustration and just sort of every art thing I've touched a little bit. So I guess it wasn't too much of a stretch to get a laser, just not off the cuff completely, but it did sort of come out of nowhere when it happened.
So it was just a matter of you had a skill set, you had the right tools, and you were playing D&D, and it all just fell into place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is really exact.
I was watching some of the videos today about the initiative tracker on Kickstarter, and you were talking about different types of initiative, and one called Popcorn Initiative.
Yeah. Popcorn Initiative is a somewhat neat system. I have tried it. Nicole hasn't. It doesn't seem like it would work because it seems metagamey. What it is everybody rolls for initiative at the start of combat, and the winner gets to pick after that who goes second, and second picks third, third picks fourth, so on. And the round's over after everybody's picked. But what that means is like, the reason people may not like this is that, well, the first player might just pick the next adventurer, and then adventurers go, and then it's the NPC's turn, but then they've all died because the adventurers all went first. But what actually makes Popcorn Initiative pretty cool is that just the DM will be playing around that knowledge, which means the players should also be playing around that knowledge. Sometimes it's not actually good to all go at the same time, and it's just it's a neat system.
You know, I was actually thinking about that, and that was the first thing I thought about. Well, all of the players are going to go, but there's a kind of initiative that is like that. It's one side goes and the other side goes.
Oh, yeah.
And frankly, I could see how that would be so detrimental to the players.
Yep.
Especially, your barbarian ran up there and he got torn to shreds by the first guy, and now your healer can't do anything.
Yeah. So what Popcorn Initiative does, and what it really cool is not only does it cause everyone to really pay attention to combat, because if you don't know that your turn is coming up next, you've got to pay attention. One of the things that realizing you've rolled last in the initiative order is that maybe you won't be as invested because you're not going to be going for a while. Not only causes you to play differently because of the small dynamics that come with, your barbarian can't outrun the party, essentially. You don't want that to happen. But it also just does these other things I don't know it's my turn, so I got to pay attention, see what's going on here. Everybody becomes more invested, hopefully.
Right. If your healers usually want to go last so that they can kind of clean up all of the things the fighters did, fix all of them and keep them in the fight.
And so, your team, everybody works more together. It's who wants to go next kind of thing. It's interesting.
So, do the two of you have a long background with Dungeons and Dragons? Have you been playing a long time, or have you just kind of come onto this with the rise of 5th edition?
That's a yes and no for me at the same time. I've played probably about 5 or 6 campaigns, but none of them have lasted very long. So I'm still technically inexperienced with D&D, but I've also been playing it for somewhere around 10 years at the same time.
Oh, that's previous edition experience.
Yeah, I played 4th edition with some friends, but like I said, it didn't last very long.
It's kind of the same for me. Both of our problems is that we can't find a group. Go figure. So we don't play as much as we want to, but I've been having that same thing for upwards of 20 years. I started with 3.5, and I did a lot of Shadowrun, a lot of Vampire the Masquerade, and still playing.
Well, do you have a campaign going now?
We have, we do one-shot things. It's something that I kind of invented that we haven't really shown the world. We show the people who we play with.
Sure.
But it's we like to call it Into the Scrying Pool just because we have no other name. And it's these 30-minute kind of things, 30-minute campaigns that they're essentially just puzzles. The very first one that I like to start out on is just you get introduced to this guy called Ted, and he just has a dart sticking out of his neck, and you got to figure out what the heck's going on here, with the goal of you've got to stop this disaster that's about to happen.
The premise is that you're this spirit in what's the word I want? Basically, your boss is this higher entity, and you're the spirit, and you get to choose, do you become Ted? Do you watch this happen? Do you become other characters that are introduced on the map? And so you're trying to figure out, by placing yourself in locations, how to solve this puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it is kind of neat. And you can do basically anything with it, because you're a spirit, and your spirit power, you can't touch or affect anything while you're in spirit form, but you can mind control and completely take over one, entity per game. And you have to complete your goal in their body.
Huh. So it's a matter of there's a story in place, and there's NPCs that you as a ghost possessing them, you use their bodies to solve the mystery.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. And it's a nice solution for how do we play D&D with all the having sporadic access to people.
Yeah. Yeah. As I've been kind of talking to more and more people, and I've been doing more research about the community, I found out that there's a rise right now in 1-to-1 Dungeons and Dragons campaigns.
That actually surprises me a lot, just personally, because I actually was under the impression that 1-to-1 was how you play this game. Because that's what I did for the first, 10 years for me. It was always just me and my, best friend, essentially. We played D&D together.
Then maybe this movement has more roots than maybe we're both giving it credit for. Maybe the 1-to-1 campaign is more natural than we think.
It's a storytelling game, and stories don't need a ton of players. They don't need a ton of participants. It's a story, even if it's just you and one other guy.
So you have this great experience with Dungeons and Dragons. You have, between you, 30 years of Dungeons and Dragons experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you put it like that.
You have your own lives of Dungeons and Dragons of experience. Making these tiles and helping to bring the game more to life on the table.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see this success. Is this something that you thought, did you think this was going to kind of be something that you would start and I'll sell a little bit and then that'll be it, and you wouldn't be getting as popular as you are? Are you surprised by this?
I kind of realized that these tiles, they do something that not many people even know exists. People just don't realize that you can build up, that there is a new dimension. But then I realized that that's actually not true. People have been doing tiles for a long time, actually. Heroescape is the one that got popular. They got bought by Wizards. People have been doing tiles and elevation kind of things for a while. And it's a different system, but I guess it never really caught on. And I think what I saw from that was that it didn't catch on because the tile system never really worked that well. You needed these fancy connectors and things to cause the tiles to not move or get knocked over, and that was never really a thing. And even though you wouldn't think it's a thing with ours, it actually kind of is because of how good MDF is for this material.
It's got this really nice weight to it. So while our tiles, they just set on each other, they hold down really well.
I like to think of it because it's like the pyramids. The pyramids don't have any kind of, oh gosh, what's it called?
Mortar.
Yeah, mortar holding it together. They just use the weight of each brick, and that's what keeps them in place. And that's what the tiles do also. If somebody knocks the table even super violently, only the top layer will get shifted. The structure is going to still stay there, and it's just pretty neat. But that's different than how things used to be. It's something new we bring.
I think that was the smart thing in the tiles you made, was that they're going to have a little bit of weight.
The Leviathan, it's 26 pounds of MDF. It's a fair amount.
That's my dog in pounds.
You get that box and you're like, that is a solid box.
Holy cow. So I had seen that the tiles you have the hexagon tiles.
Yeah.
The hexagon and squares, right?
Yeah, we offer both.
And you've put a coating over them so that these are marker friendly.
Yeah, we change our process, not frequently, but when we realize there's problems, we try to adapt to it. And yeah.
We're pretty consistently trying to constantly innovate our tiles and make them better.
Yeah.
So I think we're on our 9th iteration right now.
Yeah.
So with the markers, we're definitely heading towards that being consistent, and about half of our tiles right now are friendly to certain dry erase markers.
Oh yeah.
But half of them also aren't. So it's sort of mark on them at your own risk until we get that nailed in, but it's definitely something we're working on.
We figured out which caused the markers to not be, or the tiles to be not marker friendly. And that's why we left it up on the site, that it still says they are marker friendly. And we changed the process around that because we really do want these to be writable on, because that's cool.
Yeah, that's a huge part of setting up your landscape, is being able to draw a little bit of red on there so there's lava. And I did see that on the website, that you even have links to markers that you think are the best to use.
Yeah, and it's not,
it's not extensive.
Yeah, it's not extensive. These are just the markers we happen to have around. But we did test 10 or 15 different types of markers. We have no idea why some work and some don't.
Marker science.
Yeah. And that's just the thing with all of this stuff. There's so much science in this. It's kind of crazy. We are putting a lot of chemicals on these woods. We use the stain, we use the poly, and then when you add markers, I guess it's just things happen.
You know, it's just chemicals on chemicals on chemicals. And it sounds like between the two of you, you have enough degrees between you that you don't have to go back to school for like chemical science or whatever the hell it is. It sounds like you guys are on top of making sure these stay in good quality and that they're always going to be the best they can be.
Yeah.
That is our absolute goal.
Yeah. We really want to try to do a quality product that is somewhat cheap, like somewhat affordable. That's what we really try to do.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're very affordable. As of today, I will be a future customer.
We saw that.
I put my order in. As the creators, when I get these, how are these going to advance my game?
One of the things that I think is actually really cool is if you normally play on a square mat, I think getting the hexes was a really good idea, because that'll let you elevate, bring things up, and you'll be able to mix squares and hexes together. And that might not seem like it's something that's really neat, but that's one of the things that having our tiles does, having them in front of you and seeing that, is because like the world around you is not this super even, like everything is an exact square or everything is an exact hex. And when you have our tiles, even with the sample set, you'll see that you're able to do things like create a building that is only like 3/4 of a hex. And that's just like, it's a very small detail, but after enough of those small details, they add up to change the experience. They really do.
I had seen on the initiative tracker that you had found a bonus use for some of those tracking pieces. You send like 3 sets of the letters of the A, B's, and C's, and you say that you could also use them as place markers. As I was looking at these tiles, I had thought, you know what I could use those for? I could use those to illustrate cover.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's something that is before these tiles, that was actually something that I never did. We never used cover in any of the games that I've ever played. I don't think ever. And that was a completely new mechanic that, I mean, is not like life-changing, but it's something that's added.
Yeah.
It's not life-changing, but it's life-saving. Cover is so important in these games. It's having 2 points to your armor class can really turn the whole table around.
Yeah.
And I was
Unless it was the enemy who was doing it.
Unfortunately, my players forget about that kind of thing. And we spoke briefly about different types of initiative. So in one of my most recent games, I had just told my players, there's a house, there's trees, there's rocks, and archers are firing on you. What do you do? And it was funny because they all just kind of looked at me because they were expecting, after 3 years, just making sure everyone got to go, natural initiative came up.
We think our tracker is actually pretty neat for that kind of thing, because the DM can, if they feel like showing the party, they can just put the names up as people act. And then once everything's there, the DM then can be like, well, I guess it's, if the archer went first, then the archer can go again. Or if somebody's like, no, wait, I'm going to act really fast, I want to do this right now, then they can go, or something like, things like that. And the tracker can just easily show it for everybody right there, right then.
Or I even seen that you'd had on those 20 count initiative trackers, just move it over to the other side.
Yeah, that was really neat that we realized we could do that.
The initiative tracker itself, as I was looking at that, I was kind of confused. Like, just looking at it, I was like, what is the most of this? But you have these instructional videos, the links to your Kickstarter, that as I watched all of them, I really came to understand how it's used more. A simple idea is presenting a lot of diverse solutions.
Yes. That's one of the things that we think our initiative tracker and our tiles in general do. They're very simple systems or things, and they just give so many options, just more than you would think. And the more people who are using them give new ideas of their own, and like that's what we found when we gave out some trial trial
We
trackers.
sent out some trackers for feedback, and we did get some feedback back that, like, one group used one of the letter tiles to mark that their character had been cursed. We hadn't thought of that at all, but you can use that sidebar to mark status effects, or you can do so many things with this that we haven't even thought of yet.
Now, with the initiative tracker, Nicole, is this also something that you've been using the laser cutter for?
Yes, it is.
Now, is this a different use? Because cutting tiles is one thing. This has different depths just on this piece of wood.
Yes. So what we're doing is we're engraving the slots out for the character tiles, but we're also engraving then another slot in for the letter tiles. So you can do multiple engraves to get your multiple depths. And then you can cut that out at the end. And then there's your board.
I was actually sitting just downstairs with Courtney, and we were watching, like, it's a 1.5-minute video, and she was very quick to jump in. She said, you know what they should do is they should let you engrave those tiles with your character names. And of course, the video then says it does that. And I was like,
Yes.
You should have just watched the video.
Yeah, our tiles, we have a generic list in case someone doesn't want to give us a list of their own. But what we do is any tracker that gets pledged or ordered, you get a personalized tile set. You can tell us what monsters you want. You can tell us your party members. You're just only restricted to the number of tiles that comes with whichever one you order.
And you have this on Kickstarter that's going to be going up on the 14th, right?
Yep. 2 days.
Yeah.
So how's the run-up been? I've seen that you've been kind of raising awareness. What are your expectations? How are you feeling about it now?
Well, what we've come to think is that we are not any good at marketing, but we try. Building up a following, building up a community of our own has been the hardest part of this, we think. Yeah. And it's
Takes time.
It takes time and it takes a lot of effort, and that's been way harder than designing and making.
Yeah.
We think that the tracker is really cool, and we really hope that we can get the word out just so people, I mean, even if they don't buy it, just watch these videos and get these ideas for yourself and do it yourself if you want, because we think this does improve the game. Like, it just does.
Keeping initiative can be one of those things where you skip people over and can really put the brakes on combat. And when you have an initiative tracker that is in front of you, that is going to be something that keeps the DM engaged with that. And you're not going to get your turn skipped. You have another solid idea that you have applied your good big smarts to. And I think you're going to have a lot of success with this.
Thank you.
Yeah, that we hope so.
I hope you're proud of this. Yeah,
We are.
We definitely are proud of it. Like, it's actually like a really cool thing we think that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's kind of like a wild west of tabletop design that you might have just accidentally found yourself on.
Yeah. When we first started doing this, we did think like that this idea is either so new that we're the very first people to do it, or that this is a terrible idea and it's not going to work.
That was our first thoughts.
Yeah, we think that we are probably one of the very first people to do laser cut things. And the reason...
Like this.
Yeah, like this. And that we just think that the home laser, it's going to change the game. It's starting to change the game right now, but as more and more people get lasers for themselves or fancy tools for themselves, we're going to start seeing, I mean, saying an improvement might mean like D&D right now is not good, and that's definitely not true, but it'll be a different game 10 years from now than it will be now, we think.
Yeah.
Well, the two of you would probably have experience in this. 4th edition, as I think you said, Nicole, that you played, that was more of a focus of a map game, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Every game I managed to play there, they set up the map, and he actually set up line of sight things, and we did that in there. And then I started playing 5e, and it was just a flat map, and I was like, all right, if this is what we're going with, let's play.
Yeah.
Well, this is cool. It's a little less exciting, but, you know, flat map, okay. And like you were saying is you might not be the first ones to do it, but what I do think is there's probably other, like, laser cut things out there that you can purchase But what I think the two of you have nailed down here is that doing it in an affordable rate.
Yeah, the initiative tracker especially, like with those tiny little character tiles and letter tiles, we're trying to make those so that you get a lot of value.
Mhm.
Like we're thinking $5 for 30 different character tiles,
Yeah.
and like we want to give people the ability to have options for their minis. Like we use them as minis all the time
We don't have a lot of minis.
because we don't have minis.
If you're doing $5 for 30 tiles, $5 gets you a 2-pack of 2 minis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so just doing it this way, like you do get to customize, so you do get whatever you want, and it's just I mean, it's 30 unique creatures if you want. We've always tried to do things affordably to make them available.
And I think when you make those things affordable, you make them reachable for your average D&D group. They could spend $100 and be able to have the different surfaces and the climb up hills for battle. Again, I really think you guys stumbled onto something. But you're going to be at the Comic-Con Revolution in
Yeah.
California?
We are, yeah.
In Ontario, California.
Ontario, that's right. I saw Ontario. I was like, boy, they're going to Canada for this?
Hey, we would.
We definitely would. But yeah, it's going to be done in Southern California.
Yeah.
Do you have a booth set up there, or are you going to be walking around meeting players?
We are going to have a booth in the exhibitors hall. It's I don't remember the number, but we are going to put a map up on the website pretty shortly, showing where we are in the room. And
we're gonna be playing D&D.
yeah, we're going to bring the scrying pool stuff, and we're actually going to set up the table so you can walk in, sit down, just sort of hang out in our booth and try out our tiles.
Yeah.
Are people going to have an opportunity to see the initiative trackers?
We are going to bring a couple, just so they can see them. Yes.
Yeah.
And try them out. And we're not going to have them for sale there because they're being kickstarted.
Right.
But yeah, we definitely want people to see them in person. All of our stuff is better in person for sure.
I think that all of our stuff is just different than what people are used to, and it's different in such a degree that it's just hard to understand, like, why this would be good.
Through pictures.
Yeah, through pictures. They don't really translate that well. And being able to touch everyone who's touched the tiles, and even the initiative tracker. No bad feedback yet.
Well, I like to kind of close out these small interviews with a game called You Are John.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're kind of familiar with the premise of the possessing a body and going about certain tasks to complete a goal. So it sounds like you'll be on top of this. But do you have a D6 nearby?
We do.
Yeah, we do.
You'll each need one, or you can share one.
Good to go.
Yep.
Okay. So in You Are John, the two of you are going to be kind of co-possessing a really poor individual who's going to have a very strange day. And when we roll the dice, we'll be rolling them to determine how well John is able to perform certain tasks. On a 1 to a 2, something pretty bad happens to him, and you're kind of kicked out of the body, and the other player will inhabit. 3 to a 4, you'll have a moderate success, and like a 5 to a 6, you'll see like a critical success. I might throw some more information your way, or it'll benefit you. So what we need to start with is a setting. Where would you like to see John started?
Do you have any ideas?
About a village in the middle of a jungle.
Okay. And the two of you need to have separately a secret goal. Nothing too easy, like, I want to push someone over, but something that's not too difficult, but something the other person who's not going to automatically be able to suss out what it's going to be. So take a moment and think about what that goal is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so what we're going to do is roll for initiative.
We both got 6.
Yeah. I am the winner.
I got 2. He got 5.
Okay, so Chris, John is going to start out in a jungle. Now, John doesn't know how he got in the jungle. He was simply taking a routine flight from just New York City to California. He fell asleep and he doesn't know how it happened, but he's going to wake up just on the outskirts of a village in a hot, dense, sweaty jungle. Around him, he can hear the bugs the bugs chirping, birds calling out, and perhaps in the distance, the faint growl of a predator.
Oh man.
He is stuck in his seat with his harness connected. What do you do?
Okay. First, am I like injured in any visible way?
No, you actually find yourself to be perfectly intact.
Yeah, and I feel fine too.
You're feeling maybe a little bit nauseous from all the humidity, but you're feeling fine.
Okay. I try to get myself up out of this chair.
Okay, you're able to kind of click the seatbelt, lift it off of you, and you're on your feet.
Success. What time of day is it?
You can't really tell through the thick canopy as the sun's not really pressing too hard through. But as you kind of peer more into the village, you see people walking around. It looks like you're probably during business hours.
Okay. I think I am going to just very carefully right now just make sure that there aren't any terrible predators around. But if there aren't, I'm going to start walking towards that village.
All right, go ahead and roll me the d6.
Oh boy. A 4.
A 4. As you begin making your way towards this village, your eye catches something. A stick that looks unnatural, and as you look down, you see what looks like a snare trap. Should you have stepped in it, it would raise you above the canopy and trap you there. But you're able to nimbly get around it.
Okay. Definitely going to be keeping my eyes out for that. But maybe instead of openly walking towards the village, try to sneakily walk towards the village then in that case.
Okay.
I guess as I get closer, I'm just going to be looking to see if these people, gosh, I don't know, I'm going to read their chakras and see if they want to eat me.
All right, I'll tell you what, roll me a d6 as you start to stealthily move towards this encampment of natives.
Yeah. A 3.
A 3. You're able to get behind a few trees, and as you look over, you see there's something strange about these natives. You see that they're small, but they have a strange orange tint to their skin and green hair.
And they're going to want to eat me.
There's a strange curiosity in your mind that goes, isn't there a certain confection factory that they should be in?
Maybe I'm gonna want to eat them. Okay. Let's see. So, I saw this movie. I'm not gonna eat certain things. Anyway, what kind of trees are these?
As you look at the tree in front of you, you have your hand pressed against the bark. You feel that it's solid, but it's not the kind of bark that is familiar in trees in your home in New York. But you do notice something is beginning to move down from the top of the tree. Go ahead and roll me a d6.
Freaking predators. A 2.
A 2. As something comes swirling down from the tree, you pull your hand back and it thrusts at you. You're able to pull your hands up above your head, but you fall on your back and bang your head. Nicole, you are John.
After a while, I open my eyes and wake up. Looks like I haven't been eaten.
No, you have all of your appendages.
Fantastic. I check for shoes and in my pockets and see if I have everything I thought I had.
You have your shoes, and as you check your pockets, you find that your phone has unfortunately been smashed.
Oh, that just like hurted my soul a little bit. So I stand up, and I think despite them looking different, it might be safer in the village. So I'm going to head into the village, but like arms up and totally non-threatening.
All right, go ahead and roll me a d6 as you try to walk in, showing that you're disarmed.
That's a 1.
As soon as you walk into the village with your hands raised above your head, you are seen by the entire village, these small orange individuals. They turn and they look at you, and they all go quiet. And from outside of the village, you just see some large brown object come and bonk you on the head, which causes you to stumble back. And that is going to mean that, Chris, you are now John.
What is this thing?
You stumble back and you see on the ground, and it looks like a solid brown chunk. You can't tell what it is without further investigating, but the small orange people around you are still standing perfectly still.
Can I see it without moving?
You would have to pick it up to investigate it a little bit more.
Oh, okay. I am going to, move 5 feet closer to them.
As you step a little bit closer, you see that one of them reaches behind him and picks up a strange white and red tipped spear.
I'm like, okay, I stop, and then I try to be like, whoa, hello, I am John.
Go ahead and roll me a d6 as you try to communicate with these native people.
There we go, yeah, a 5.
A 5. They kind of look back and forth, and they nod, and one walks forward and goes, John?
John!
John! He lowers his spear and he smiles, and he looks at the other at the other natives and goes, John! And they go, John!
Okay. Right now that the natives are all right, I look back and see if I can see that thing that hit me on the head.
All right. Go ahead and roll a d6.
A 3.
A 3. As you turn around, you look back at that tree and you see something beginning to curl its way back up into the canopy. And as you look, it appears to be red, green, yellow, and blue. And you're not sure if it was the 2 blows you've just taken to the head, but you swear it's made out of gummies.
Okay. I look around now, and the natives are John one more time for good measure.
John.
And they're still just standing here looking at the spectacle of me?
They're still looking at this strange being who's walked into their camp.
Yeah. Okay. I look around at I guess the rest of the village, and does it also seem to be made of candy?
You look at the village further, and as you see kind of the straw that sits on top of these huts, you notice that it's green. And you can't tell if it's green like grass or if it's green like a candied grass. You look forward and you can see what is actual fire with a actual metal clay pot on the top of it.
What is in that plate?
You can't see from the distance you're at.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go over there. I want to see what's in that plate.
All right. As you begin to walk closer towards the center of this village, the individual with the candied spear, he falls behind you, and you hear a couple voices just going, John, John, John. And as you come up close to this pot, go ahead and roll me a d6.
All right. A 1.
As you walk up to this pot, you look in and you see that it's bubbling and it looks brown, but it has a sweet smell of like a carameled sugar. And as you look, a white skull floats to the surface.
John.
John. This scares you so much. Your eyes roll back in fear. Nicole, you are back in this very unfortunate situation.
I wake up and I say, John. I look around to see how close these dudes are.
You can see they're about 10 feet back. They haven't dropped their spears. They're just chanting, John, 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 John.
I look around to see if there's an opening as I'm slowly getting back up.
As you look around, you can see that there are huts that are built and the small openings that would be between them for walkways are being covered by these small orange individuals, but you can see that there's been a partially broken tree from some sort of accident that seems to lead away and into the jungle.
All right. I'm up. And I'm going to head to the tree because John is obviously a word for dinner.
All right, go ahead and roll me a d6 as you try to climb across this tree.
6.
Okay, you nimbly run across this tree, utilizing John's ability as an acrobat, apparently. As you climb over the tree, you see that on the other side, it leads to what looks like a long, deep, wide cliff. And across that cliff, you see there is a single rickety rope bridge. You've gotten some distance, but you hear that chanting coming your way. John, John, John.
I look around to see if there's any other options besides that bridge.
Okay, roll a d6.
6.
Oh, 6. All right, as you look around a little bit more, you can see that there is a pathway that does go down into the cliffside. It looks like it might take you further down where there might be caves.
I'm going to take the path.
All right, you begin to run down the path. Oh boy, I don't know what your guys' goal are, but I'm taking you far, far from it. I'm realizing, like, I'm thinking, Dan, they chose goals. You told them to choose goals, and now we're doing Cannibal Holocaust Willy Wonka. What the hell are you doing?
Chanting John.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can, you start running down the path, but the cliff gets narrow. Go ahead and roll me a d6. 3. You can start making your way across the cliff, and you see that there is a cave that you can enter.
I'm going to try to hide in the cave.
All right.
Because it seems safer than being a target for, I'm assuming, peppermint spears.
Roll a d6.
5.
You're able to hide in the cave, and a small bit of time passes, and you hear the chanting of John disappear. But as you look behind you, you see a luminescent fungus begin to light this cave up. You hear the sound of water running somewhere deep in the distance of the cave.
Well, I am pretty thirsty after all of that candy surrounding me. So I'm going to go see what the water is.
All right. You begin to slowly move through the cave. You can hear echoes of bats somewhere deeper inside. As you walk, the cave is lit, but it's not great visibility. You move your way through. Roll me a d6 to make sure that you don't find any unfortunate traps. 4. You start making your way through, and you can see large creatures just kind of crawling their way around the darkness. But you can eventually find yourself to a small oasis inside of this cave.
I look around to see if I feel completely safe in here.
To know if you're completely safe, there's only one way to find out. Roll a d6. Yeah, roll a d6.
4.
You feel like you haven't heard anything for a while. You're probably safe.
Okay. Then I'm going to rest for just a sec because I just ran from cannibal Oompa Loompas.
Yeah.
And got around the creatures in the cave. And so I'm just going to chill, take off my shoes, relax for a minute, have some water.
Roll a d6 because I think this is your goal.
That's a 1.
You go to take off your shoes, but one of them seems to be stuck. And as you wrench it off, it bops you right in the head.
I am talented and unconscious.
Yeah.
Chris, you re-inhabit John's body.
Okay. So these animals, are they still just hanging around?
They seem to have skittered away into the darkness, but you think there might be a way to coax them out.
Well, that sounds like a plan. Let's try and entice some animals. I like animals.
All right, you can kind of look into your pockets and you find something useful, but at your absolute horror, it is one of those bags of airline peanuts. And opening a bag of airline peanuts is very difficult. So go ahead and roll me a d6.
A 4.
A 4. You're able to pop it open, and some of the peanuts fall to the ground.
Okay. Am I hungry?
After all of this running, you could probably have a snack.
Yeah. Okay. So not only am I going to steal a peanut for myself, I'm going to try to throw just a couple in the general direction of maybe some animals or where I would think they would be. But also maybe look around for something that I can eat that might sustain me more than some terrible peanuts.
Go ahead and roll me a d6.
A 2.
A 2. As you toss those peanuts out and you start looking around the cave a little bit more, you hear the small squeaks of what sounds like rats in the distance. And then you hear what is a massive rush of wind coming through the cave. You turn around and what little bit of light from the hall you had just came down is blackened out as a wave of bats slam into you and you drop back first into this small oasis of water. Nicole, you are now John.
I have been unconscious so much today. This has been a weird day. How deep is this water?
When you come to, you can see that there's maybe 2 feet above you. And as you kind of turn to peer around, you see that the cave, that the water goes down and actually goes into like an underground cavern.
Well, I can't not check that out. So I'm going to go up for some air and then dive back down.
All right, as you dive back down and begin to swim, go ahead and roll me a d6.
4.
You're able to start swimming through this increasingly dark tunnel that's leading you deeper and deeper under, but you eventually find that it leads back up. And as you come to surface for air, there is light and cave carvings along the wall. Roll me a d6.
Do they say John? Also, that's a 1.
Okay, as you pull yourself up, something from the darkness of this cave begins to move forward. It looks like it's some sort of large bat. It flaps its wings and pushes you back into the water, and you are once again unconscious.
Jesus.
Chris?
Okay. Is that bat, like, it's freaking out?
It looks like it was surprised to see you.
Okay. Did I drop all of my peanuts?
You might be able to search your pockets and find another bag of peanuts.
Okay. I try to throw. All right. Okay. I want to get that bat to let me get out of the water. So I'm gonna try to, I guess, throw something out there, maybe to get it to go over there rather than beating me in the head.
All right, you can you dig through your pockets and you find a few of the peanuts that had opened from a previous bag and you can toss them, and that seems to distract the bat.
Yeah. Okay. I get out of the water and then try to. I don't want to get eaten by a bat, so let's try to get away from this bat. But check out those cave paintings also.
All right, as you look at the cave paintings, you can see that there are strange scriptures and drawings of weird and ominous sculptures. And you can see in some strange lettering, you swear it almost makes out the word John. But behind the bat, you can see sunlight coming from a small crack in the wall.
Okay. I try to go to the light. This cave is terrible. I'm going to get eaten here.
You're going to have to get past the bat. Roll me
a
D6.
Okay. While it's distracted, I try to distract it a little more. More peanuts,
Okay.
if I can. And
Throw
then
a couple
I'm
more
going
peanuts.
to try to sneak past the bat.
Give it a roll.
A 2.
You start squeezing your way into this crack in the wall. You can just barely make your way through. And as you start halfway through, the bat turns its massive wing back and a great gust of wind forces you through the crack, landing on the ground. Nicole, you are now John.
I pick myself up.
You see you
Brush
are
off
back
a bunch of dirt. And I look around to see where I am now.
You see that you are back in the expansive jungle, but this time with no small village.
Still really dense canopy overhead. Can't really see the sky.
There's actually more breaks now, and as you're looking up, you can see that it's either a sunset or a sunrise. You're probably going to bet that it's a sunset.
Okay. I am going to look for... You know what? I'm going to climb a tree. I have acrobatics. I climbed that other tree. Let's try this out.
Roll a d6.
A 4.
You're able to shimmy up the tree. At the top, you see the large fronds coming off the side and what looks like familiar, round, brown objects.
I look at these objects and try to figure out what they are.
You last seen them bonk you on the head from one of the natives, but go ahead and roll me a d6.
Another 4.
You would think they're coconuts, but as you investigate them further, they have a cherry filling. They look like giant chocolate-covered cherries.
Okay, well, today I'm a geologist. Let's lick this rock and see what it tastes like.
I think just simply licking a rock would be doable. But go ahead and roll me a d6 to see what happens when you do.
It's been one of those days.
Yeah.
A 3.
A 3. You lick this rock and it is definitely cherry and chocolate. A very bitter chocolate, but chocolate.
Okay, I'm going to knock it down and climb down the tree so I can eat something because it's been a while since that one peanut.
Roll that d6.
2.
2, as you go sliding down the tree, you lose your grip and you fall. Chris, you're back in control.
Oh, man. Okay. So, is that chocolate cherry coconut still here?
That it is.
I'm gonna eat it. I pop the cherry in my mouth, the cherry part.
It's about the size of your head, so you're kind of burying
Whoa.
your head in this.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's big. Go ahead and roll the d6 to see if you don't choke on this.
Okay. A 4.
You're able to competently eat a chocolate-covered cherry with this oozing inside. It's sweet. The chocolate is bitter. It's a nice mix together.
Okay. Well, actually, I've done it.
What was your goal?
Well, if this might count, I hope it does. I wanted to eat fruit.
That sounds like a win to me. Well, Chris, you as John, you have succeeded in eating fruit. We're all going to leave him in this terrible dire straits, Willy Wonka's Cannibal Holocaust. But thank you so much for both of you sitting down and talking with me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having us.
Where can our listeners find your fine product?
www.tabletopfoundations.com, and also just our Kickstarter. If on May 14th you search Initiative Tracker, it should hopefully pop up.
But it will also have a link on our website as well.
Yeah.
And I'll be posting links on Quips and Crits. I'm going to see that this episode gets up by Wednesday so that we can try and get as much coverage for you guys as we can.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Yeah, you as well.
Yeah.
It's great talking to you. I'll see you around the internet.
All right. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.